The Detroit Pistons could potentially seek a trade for Jaden Ivey between now and the trade deadline. According to Brett Siegel, we'll talk a little bit about why they could be on today's episode. We're also going to look at the Lakers being rumored and being in trade talks for DiVincenzo amongst KCP as well. And Chris Paul is headed back to the Los Angeles Clippers for what's probably his final year. We're going to discuss all that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. We're going to start off with this one coming from Brett Siegel, who talked about the potential of the Detroit Pistons looking for a Jaden Ivey trade. This one comes again from Brett Siegel, who says this. One interesting name that came up in some early trade chatter entering the 2025-26 season at the NBA Summer League was Jaden Ivey. Coming off his broken fibula, Ivey is entering the final year of his rookie contract, and rival teams have questioned how well he fits into the image Detroit has built for itself. Whereas Cade Cunningham takes his time and attacks opponents at his own pace, Ivey is an up-tempo guard who utilizes speed and athleticism in the game. The Pistons as a whole aren't a team that pushes the pace, and they tend to move the ball around on offense instead of attacking in isolation sets like Ivey likes to do. Keep an eye on the Pistons seeking a big upgrade before the trade deadline and potentially including Ivey in said move. So, Jaden Ivey, who had basically a renaissance last year for his career, when you look at how Monty Williams used him versus how new coaching coming in and used him, in 30 games played last year, he averaged 17.6 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, shooting 40% from the field and 40% from three-point line. That's really good. Those are really good stats for a guard, especially a more up-tempo guard. You want that efficiency that's there, his ability to rebound decently well for his position also. And, even though he's not the main on-ball guard, he has decent enough assist numbers as well. There's reason to believe that teams looking for a guard, a change of pace guard, could definitely come in and look at Jaden Ivey. And keep in mind, Jaden Ivey is still a very young player. And considering how he's been used over the course of his NBA career, kind of up and down at 23 years old, 6'4", decent enough size for his position, there could be some takers when it comes to Jaden Ivey when it comes down to it. He's always been a decent enough scorer, 42% from the field for his career, 35% from three. Last year was his best season from three, from volume and percentage, which is really good to see that the volume goes up, the percentage went up. And I think that speaks to he had a little bit more trust last year than what he had at any other time with the Detroit Pistons so far in his 3-year NBA career. And so there's still a lot of upside with Jaden Ivey. The Pistons, who could be looking for a guard that kind of more fits with Cade Cunningham, could make some sense. I still think you would want to at least give a half a season to really see what Jaden Ivey and Cade can look like together before you make that decision to potentially move on from Jaden Ivey. But the Pistons are in a position right now where they've added some veterans, much like they did last year, and that this is a wide open East that many people are viewing it for. And so maybe they do consider, as the season goes on, making that move. You have Ausar Thompson down there. You got Duncan Robinson in here. You got Karis LeVert. So you got some other guards that can play that position if you decide to move on from him and maybe address some things in some other places, right? So we'll see how this goes for Jaden Ivey. This is the first that we've really heard that Jaden Ivey could be moved. This is really the first we've heard a lot about him since his injury. We know that, prior in the 2023-24 season, he was talked about as potentially being moved in some trades, but, with the new coaching staff and stuff coming in, that seemed to kind of dissipate some. But Jaden Ivey could really be an interesting prospect here. Now, he would have to recover from his broken fibula. I don't think teams are maybe going to take and look at a big trade there until they see him get back on the court. And why take that risk if you can see him rehab with the team that he's currently on? So the Pistons are still going to be motivated to have him out there and have him playing basketball to see what he can continue to bring. But I do think there makes some sense for Jaden Ivey to be somebody that the Pistons could go out there and look to see what teams could be interested in them, especially when you have a number of guards that could end up being on the move, things like that during next season. Anthony Simons is one. Kobe White is another one, right? A team's looking to move on from some. And Ivey, the question always is with Ivey too, is that is his best position going to be point guard? Is it going to be a scoring point guard, or is he going to be fine and thriving as an off-ball guard, or maybe sharing those on-ball duties when it comes down to it? At that 6'4" size, there's some questions. We've seen 6'4" shooting guards be perfectly fine. It depends on the rest of the makeup of the team and the size that's out there. But let me know what you guys think down below. As far as Jaden Ivey and the Pistons potentially looking to move him between now and the trade deadline, do you think they can get something back? Do you think those numbers that he gave last year, are those going to be, and they're not too far off for his career numbers, he just had more trust there. Are those something that can sustain in a winning system? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Next up, talking about trades, this one is also according to Brett Siegel that the Lakers have held trade talks for KCP and DiVincenzo when it comes down to it with the Wolves and with the Grizzlies. And we know that the Lakers are still looking for talent. There's no doubt about it. They're still looking for pieces that fit around Luka Doncic and what he can end up being. That's going to depend on, again, what they have to give up to get him. Brett Siegel wrote this. After fielding calls for KCP when they first traded for him with the Orlando Magic, the Grizzlies have not seen any real conversations materialize for the veteran shooting guard. The Lakers were a team that spoke with Memphis about KCP after their Desmond Bane trade as well. Los Angeles also reached out to the Minnesota Timberwolves about Donte DiVincenzo's availability, but the Wolves are not interested at all, sources have said. The Lakers are still in a place where they are trying to find the best players and the pairing of players to go around Luka, and they're building that new path, a new type of play style, the new type of players that they need. That they are building all that around that player in Luka and trying to see what players best fit that. And of course, 3-point shooters, defenders, rim runners. These are the type of players you need around Luka Doncic. It makes sense for Donte DiVincenzo as well. Like I think he is barely scratched the surface of what he could be. And, I think the Lakers could potentially look for Dalton Knecht to be a trade chip for them to make a move and to get some of these other kind of more proven pieces. The question is, do they want to go all in on that now? Do they want to wait? They're planning to have a big offseason in both 2026 summer and 2027. That could be where they want to make kind of more splashy moves at, whereas right now it's making functional moves for the style of play that you want to get to. And then you're going to make kind of the more bigger moves to move some of your younger players to get more veterans in here once you feel like you're on the path of having a roster that can compete for Western Conference Finals. And that's going to be difficult when you look at the West as well, right? But 3-and-D players, rim runners, these are players that all fit around Luka. And we know that Luka needs those type of players to be successful. He's going to put up numbers regardless, but those are the best type of players that can be successful around Luka for the team success and things like that. With Luka pounding out the ball and doing those type of things. So the question now is that going to be a thing? DiVincenzo would have been a nice fit, but hearing that the Wolves have no interest in what the Lakers have to offer, has no doubt the Wolves themselves are trying to move up in the Western Conference. Why hope the Lakers? The KCP thing is going to be interesting, though, because I do think the Grizzlies have a use for KCP now. If Cedric Coward, who is an older rookie, is more advanced and ready to contribute right away, think of like Terrence Shannon Jr., I can see them absolutely pivoting and moving KCP. They may want to keep him for bench depth, things like that. I think they got a lot of things kind of going up in there with that Memphis Grizzlies team as they try to look to make that roster make sense. But I could see KCP on the move here, and that would make some sense. But I think with getting Marcus Smart, I think the Lakers are going to kind of chill out for a while here. They're still going to take calls. They're still going to, make calls. They're going to field calls, field what could be possible as far as movement. But leading into that summer of 26 and 27, that's when I think you're going to see the most movement with the Lakers. I think that kind of makes sense with the place that the team is at right now as well. So let me know what you guys think and fill in all of that down below. Make sure you guys are following us as well. But let's get into the last topic for today. As one of my lights die. That's why I don't turn the lights on all the time on this show. Chris Paul has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, which is expected widely to be his final year in the NBA. And so it comes full circle for him, right? While his career started in New Orleans, with the Hornets, he had some of his best years with that Los Angeles Clippers team, Lob City, all of that. And, he did say that, that he wants to be near his family and he wants to be in Los Angeles. He said that on the Pat McAfee show. And as he looks to kind of wrap up his career and put a bow on it, it kind of is poetic in a way. And, I didn't get to cover it yesterday. I didn't think it was, something that you want to drop an emergency episode on and a live stream, but Chris Paul going back to the Clippers, it feels right. Dame going back to Portland, Chris Paul going back to the Clippers. It just kind of all makes it. Now, it would have been funny if he ended his career with the Lakers, considering, how all that shook out. If you know. But, Chris Paul now goes to LA. He's going to go to the Clippers team that I think he can help facilitate some for sure. He's probably going to come off the bench for that team. I would guess. I would fathom that that's probably going to be the case. But with Bradley Beal there, you got James Harden there, who's already welcomed Chris Paul there. This is a team that's going to try to make their move. And the Clippers are still an interesting team to watch because if fully healthy, whenever fully healthy, they're still an absolute beast in that Western Conference. But, we'll see what's going to happen there. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Prior tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.